menopause is mandatory, suffering is optional. And I experienced it myself, like the full-blown effects with shifting. And I'll give you 3 of the key principal changes that I made that really evaporated those menopausal symptoms.
Welcome to Ending Chronic Disease, where we challenge everything you thought you knew about health. Join international best-selling author and wellness pioneer, Dr. Fabrizio Mancini, as he reveals how to transform your body, your mind, and your life starting today.
Well, welcome everyone. So excited to be with you today, primarily because, as you know, one of my most valuable things that I can tell you that drives me every single day is trying to get answers to some of the questions that are really keeping us from having the health that we were meant to have. And today we have a topic that is extremely important, which is menopause. And this is a topic that I have found, and we're going to have the leading expert in the world in this topic to discuss it. But I have found in my own practice and in the last 38 years of being a healthcare provider that a lot of times people are not comfortable discussing this topic. And I think it's something that needs to be discussed, especially in lieu of all this new information that we're seeing over the last few months in the media, in social media, everywhere, regarding the root causes of most of our symptoms, most of our health issues. So today, I want you to meet Dr. Anna Cabeca. She's known nationwide as the girlfriend doctor, triple board certified OBGYN, integrative medicine, anti-aging, and regenerative medicine, a best-selling author of the Hormone Fix, Menopause, Keto Green 16. She's a trusted voice on shows like The Today Show, People, Forbes, Goop, and more. So Anna, it's such a pleasure to see you again, and thank you so much for making time during your busy time.
Oh, no, I'm excited to be here. This is such an important topic, and it's a great conversation to be had.
Well, it's interesting because you have a very powerful story, and I know that you've endured losses in your life and the shock of having early menopause at the age of 38. Can you tell us a little bit about how this shaped the path that you took regarding this inspiring world in empowering women, especially regarding this topic of menopause?
Yeah, completely changed the way I practice medicine. So I had trained in gynecology and obstetrics at Emory University, and I always had a heart for integrative medicine. I'm first generation American. My mom would say, eat this olive oil and za'atar, it will make you smart, and dandelion tea and all that good stuff, and food as medicine. I had that background. And so when I went into my private practice, I was practicing very much Western medical practice, but yet very open to integrative and functional medicine practices. But even with that information, then I was diagnosed with early menopause, and first infertility, and I failed several rounds of fertility treatments, and then diagnosed with early menopause. And, it was it was heartbreak. It was heartbreak, and my doctor's bag was empty. Conventional medicine said, you deal with it. It's understandable that you're depressed. Here, take this medication. And for me, that wasn't an answer. But travel has always been a meditation. So it literally led me on a journey with the grace of God around the world, looking for answers. And through that experience, I came to Peru, and they talk about maca and how that helps with fertility and fatigue and so much more. And I was like, okay. And then they say, oh, it's the Peruvian Viagra. So you're like, okay, yeah, I'm drinking this maca, right? But I was like, if this is a powerful medicinal food, what else is there? And so I started exploring and healing as a result of that, and traveling to many continents around the world over that year and listening to indigenous healers, as well as some of the world's leading scientists. My early menopause was reversed, and I naturally conceived the child I was told I would never be able to have when I was 41 years old. And so that blew my mind, Fab. I came back into my practice on fire to help people and to encourage them. Your diagnosis is not your destiny. Your prescription is not your description. we get to these underlying root issues, your body has tremendous power to heal. And it's a mind, body, spirit, soul approach that I really started integrating into my practice. And like you, lifestyle medicine is over 90% of it, right? The hormones, it takes more than hormones to fix our hormones.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the symptoms that people are experiencing. We know studies are talking about how over 50% of postmenopausal women have osteopenia, osteoporosis. What are some of those proactive ways that we can begin to exercise on a daily basis to protect our bones during this period?
Yeah, and osteopenia, osteoporosis is really a hidden pandemic because your doctor's not even, with modern day knowledge, recommending bone density scans till you're in your 60s. Or you persuade them as an individual that you really need this. Most important, you get this test done yourself in your 30s, 40s, 50s. I mean, get, every 5 to 10 years markers as soon as you can, because I have clients in their 30s and early 40s with osteoporosis that would have been undetected, in conventional medicine for another, I don't know how long until they had a fracture possibly. So it's so important because we can reverse these changes, and hormones are a piece of it, definitely. And, and so we look at optimizing our hormones, reducing hormone disruptors, reducing, acidic environment from inflammatory foods, and addressing those issues. And of course, muscle is magic, not just in menopause, but for our entire life.
Well, I'm so glad that you brought that, because I agree with you, especially being a doctor of chiropractic. I've always felt when I look at x-rays, how even younger people, you can see that the bone structure is not as strong as it should be. But one of your favorite statements, and this is, every time I hear it, I love it. You say menopause is mandatory, but suffering is optional. I love that. But what would you say, if you say it's optional, think about maybe 3 things that we can consider doing, right? The ones that are listening right now, 3 things that every woman should consider doing on a daily basis to go from surviving into thriving. 3 things that most of your patients tell you, Dr. Anna, when I did this, it made a big difference. Things that you have seen in the science. I know you are very science-based in everything you do, and that's what makes you such a great media expert. But what are those 3 things that you would recommend right now?
Yeah, and I think it's so important because you're absolutely right. Menopause is mandatory, suffering is optional. And I experienced it myself, like the full-blown effects with shifting. And I'll give you 3 of the key principal changes that I made that really evaporated those menopausal symptoms, and also extended that, at 48 when I was having, 39, and then 48, full-blown perimenopause, name it, there's 200 symptoms or so associated with menopause, and then reversing that, and then extending my menopause journey to not going through menopause until age 56. So, right, ovarian longevity is a marker for longevity, brain health, wellness, all of those good things. So the 3 things that I discovered that were really key, and it incorporated into what I call my keto green method, the method that I teach, is first of all, check your urine pH, get alkaline. When you are acidic, when you have a poor diet, when you are under stress with the best diet, if you have an acidic urine pH, that's eating away your muscle, your bone, your hormones are stressed. And that feels like, feeling stressed and your hormones are a mess, that's for sure. So checking your pH, it's a very important biomarker that is so overlooked. And I say it's as important, Fab, as your heart rate variability, your weight on the scale, your blood pressure. So urine pH is an important biomarker, and we want that to be on average waking and going to bed at 7 on average. And so that's the first thing. The second thing that's game-changing is intermittent fasting, especially in perimenopause and menopause, because as our reproductive hormones start to decline, insulin starts to increase and we become more insulin resistant. Intermittent fasting completely reverses that paradigm. So the second is intermittent fasting. And the third is increase your oxytocin on a daily basis. For me, it's that mindset piece that ties into our physiology, then producing the most powerful hormone in our body. And it starts start your day with a practice of gratitude. I ask myself 3 questions every single morning before I even open my eyes that resets my physiology and puts me in this oxytocin state of mind, let's call it. And so those are 3 things that I would encourage everyone to do free, completely, getting your pH tips. That's pennies a day, but basically free to improve your journey and improve your physiology.
It's interesting because I do intermittent fasting, and of course the literature, especially during the last few years, has not only helped in this type of cases of menopause, but also in so many other the chronic diseases that we're dealing with. Let's talk about some of these symptoms that you constantly hear about, right? Hot flashes, brain fog, mood swings. This, for some people, these symptoms come from nowhere, and a lot of times they don't even understand what may be causing them. What are some of the things that we can do to distinguish if this is from normal perimenopause, or at what point do you feel people should actually seek medical attention?
Yeah. So this is an area that, I have a lot to say about FAB. I have so much to say about, because as menopause is coming into the media, and they're like, oh, these 200 symptoms are your hormones. Are they really? Are they really? Or is it hormone disruptors? Is it mold toxicity? Is it radiation or EMF exposure? Is it nutrient insufficiency? Is it insulin resistance? Is it hypercortisol or hypocortisol or adrenal dysfunction? What are the reasons you're experiencing the sequelae of symptoms? And that's the most common. Again, you can go through menopause with no hot flashes, right? But you can have weight gain without doing anything different, hair loss, the rapid aging, fine lines and wrinkles. I like to think smile lines and laugh lines. I'm quite proud of mine. The aches in the frozen shoulder, right? That's a big one. Heart palpitations that sometimes take you to the OR. These are, or the ER. These are symptoms that, can be associated with menopause as well. And we always want to look at, what are the root causes of these symptoms? And, if you're experiencing these symptoms in menopause, there's a root cause. It's not just your hormones. But I always say 10%, we give hormones 10% of the bucket.
Well, it's important because, and I love the fact that we are finally living in a time that root causes have become such a discussion for a lot of people. And even though we've been promoting that for so many years, it just seems that this may be the first time that people hear it. Let's talk about a sensitive topic that I hear about, especially from a lot of my patients in the past, and that is hair thinning. For most women, it feels like you're losing a part of your identity. How do you help women reconnect with their sense of self when they're losing more than their hair? Because I noticed that they bring it up as a concern because hair loss is something that we have seen, but usually we associate with conditions like cancer and others, so people get very worried. So is there any tips that you have, and why do you feel that may be part of, for some women, the menopause process?
Yeah, I think there's so much I have to say about this, because as a physician, or as a young physician, when early in my medical practice, clients would come in and bring a bag of their hair and say, okay, Dr. Anna, I am losing more than a normal amount of hair. What's going on? And typically at that time, by the time they come to their gynecologist, they've seen one other doctor regarding their hair issue. And I would check their thyroid and say, okay, well, maybe we need some iron and biotin, and let's help these things. And I didn't realize the issue. Can I show you a picture? Can I share my screen?
Yes, let me,
okay.
Go ahead.
But there, so I know this, and I share, a picture says 1,000 words, right? A picture is greater than 1,000 words. And in this is me at 39 years old, and you can see the hair loss. male pattern baldness, tremendous amount of hair loss. I have reversed that, you can see, completely at 59 years old, 20 years later. If I didn't address this condition, what would I look like 20 years from, at this point, after 20 years? So hair loss is such a big issue, and I'm very sensitive to it now. After I had experienced that, I am very aggressive about what we do for hair loss. And thyroid was normal, but was cortisol increasing testosterone conversion to dihydrotestosterone via the enzyme action of 5-alpha reductase. And so that conversion creates that androgenic baldness. So it's stress-related hair loss, but also toxin, nutrient insufficiency, thyroid, hair loss. It's reversible. Like, you shouldn't have thinning hair. You should be able to have a thick ponytail. And I've been there where I had tiny ponytail. And women listening, if you've experienced this, I've been there, and I'm very aggressive about this. And I believe in hair supplements. I created a hair formula, a hair mask with sea buckthorn oil in it and amino acids to keep your hair healthy and strong. And it's really a passionate topic because it is our crown of glory too. And so it is, there are underlying issues. You want to rule out thyroid, iodine, and iron issues, biotin, and vitamin A, D, E, and K. You want to detox, reduce eliminate mold toxins, but cortisol, that biggie. And we can actually, there's so much we can do to interrupt that pathway between testosterone and dihydrotestosterone. So good news there, guys.
Well, and I love the fact that you're bringing up this functional testing, because there may be some people that are listening right now that have really only been exposed to the traditional medicine care, which you were trained traditionally with. But this functional space in which we have been a part of for many years, we have testing today that can actually be able to measure some of these markers. We call it markers in science, but these specific things that we're looking for that give us a lot of the story as to why are you experiencing that, and more importantly, it tells us how to help you correct it, so that way those symptoms go away. We have another topic that I knew that people want me to bring up, and it's a topic regarding the fact that over 70% of women experience what we call vaginal dryness and painful intercourse. Now, as a man, I can tell you that a lot of times these topics don't become part of our conversations. And many times I feel, especially when patients have mentioned it to me, they may say, well, doc, I'm a little embarrassed telling my husband that, and I don't want him to think that I'm getting too old and all of that. And so there's a lot of issues there in which a lot of times people may interpret these symptoms and maybe impact their self-esteem, or perhaps the way that they want to exercise their relationship with their beautiful partners. But what is the conversations that we should be having, number one, about this topic to break the silence? And also, what are some of the tips that you will give us that can help us perhaps be able to solve that?
Yeah, no, I am, as a gynecologist, I'm passionate about this. And again, having struggled with early menopause, delivering 4 big babies, I say vaginal health is essential for life. I mean, we talk about oral health, lots of good attention. Vaginal health should have as much of the conversation. It really should. And I want to ask you too, as a man, because I have interviewed many men regarding sexual health and these issues. So if your wife says, hey, I'm using this to make sure that my vagina is healthy, I have better orgasms, and, I get as turned on during play as ever, what would you say?
Well, to me, it will be natural to just support whatever is going to make her experience. I have a lot of dialogue with men. A lot of men open up to me about many of these issues. And the most important thing that I recommend a man is to make sure that a woman is completely fulfilled and relaxed and supported through this process, because men tend to be looked at as you're only interested in your satisfaction in this process. But in reality, I have found when you pay attention to the satisfaction of your partner, equals 100 times more towards you, because now you have a person that is truly there, very grateful, especially that you've taken the time. Sometimes it takes time, or you've taken at least a sensitivity to be able to listen to what's important to them.
Absolutely. I want everyone to really hear that and absorb that, because women don't believe that most of the time. Like, oh, wait, I have to power through, even though sex is uncomfortable and dry, just to please my partner. But you just shared the number one secret in getting a woman, increasing a woman's sexual desire over and over again, or the number one reason why men enjoy intimacy. It's her pleasure, her turn on. And that is so important. Her turn on, her pleasure is your pleasure. So, hey, I support you in everything you need to do to achieve that and to maintain that. And like I said, vaginal health is essential for life. I'm going to share this other slide. So for those of you that are viewing this is a good visualization. We know when we age, we're going to get our laugh lines and wrinkle lines, and lose the elasticity to our skin. It's happening in our pelvic floor region as well. And the vulva vaginal issue, a lot of, more attention's on the vagina, but the vulva, clitoris to anus, the most important anatomy of our body, is affected by these changes as well. And what that causes, it causes a decrease in ability, decreased sensation, decreased orgasm, decrease in pleasure, but also functionally an increase in urinary tract infections, a increase in urinary incontinence, an increasing in vaginal bacterial or yeast infections, an increase in cervical dysplasia or vaginal dysplasia, and increased risk of vaginal or cervical cancers, because the microbiome changes with these changes. In this picture, you can see a healthy vagina with good mucus lining, right? Like the inside of the mouth, good mucus lining, good blood vessels, good nerve supply. But as we age, that thins out. And it's so noticeable within the vagina, but also externally. Cannot forget the external vulvovaginal and perianal regions, because hemorrhoids and fissures, we never want to deal with those. Maybe we had them postpartum. We definitely don't want to deal with them post-menopause. So keeping that tissue healthy with pelvic floor exercises and nutrients, and here I use hormones to really help revitalize and revive this tissue, and you reverse the hands of time. So I have a client who's been on one of my products, Jova, for I guess since it was almost like 8 years now, and she likes to boast. She's 67 now, and she likes to boast that she has the vagina of a 25-year-old. And she also states it was game-changing because she met her husband 4 years ago, and if she didn't have that, the intimacy was so important. If she didn't have that ability to, really focus on her pleasure, her intimacy, and versus having pain, discomfort, and dryness, she says that, the relationship is so much better because they continue to have an intimate relationship, sexual intimacy. And I think that's so important. And this is really where we need to support vaginal health and vaginal microbiome health. And there's so much limited information on the vaginal microbiome, but it's definitely an area I've been studying for the last 10 years. And we're making some headway finally, but hormones are key, and topical, vaginal. And the difference is, like, we hear a lot of vaginal estrogen. Okay, if you're sexually active, you're using vaginal estrogen, some will transmit to the guy. Just be aware of that. May not need more estrogen. Just be aware. But DHEA, which can be used vaginally, can be used. It is, guys can use 10 times as much DHEA. It's very safe. But plus, where estrogen only works on the mucosa, the top layer, DHEA, it works all the way down to the muscularis layer. And that's been shown in many research studies looking at vaginal DHEA. So, and I use it topically. And I've been using it for over 15 years topically, and combined with plant stem cells. And it is rejuvenating. Like, I am traveling here. I've been in a dark retreat for 4 days, and I'm out in this rural area in the mountains but I brought my Jolva and my Balance. I brought my Mighty Maca. I brought these are some essentials, even though I have a small backpack. They come with me. I mean, I practice what I preach. I just am really, I really want to emphasize this issue because, again, vulvar vaginal health is critical. And as a gynecologist dealing with women in menopause, well, beyond menopause, suffering with these issues, it is not something we have to do. Prevention is possible.
Well, and I'm glad that you opened the conversation as to being very honest with your healthcare provider. It's obvious that I'm sure your patients will tell you, well, Dr. Ana, I just feel so comfortable telling you all these things, you're welcoming it. So if you find a provider that may not be as open, then try to identify or find a functional provider, somebody like Dr. Ana that can actually help you answer some of these questions and really have the deep conversation, because ignoring it is not going to be the solution. I can tell you that. Let's talk about another one of your topics of fashion, and that is nutrition. That is at the core of your keto green approach. So I loved it because to me, eating with a purpose, I love that concept, So tell me a little bit about how diet and some of these ingredients that you have discovered play a key role, not only when it comes to balancing your hormones, your energy, but also another topic, which is your weight during menopause.
Yeah, this is so important. And by the way, I love your new book. I mean, you go into these areas in such great detail and with this passion and compassion that is just, it's just so you, Fab. Thank you. It's really excellent. Everyone needs to make sure they get a copy of your book. Well done. Well done. I meant to tell you that earlier.
Thank you.
So, and with my keto green method, in my books, the Hormone Fix, Keto Green 16, and Menopause, I created medicinal menus that I want to use food as medicine to really create and help support our body's detoxification, digestion, elimination, anti-inflammatory, adaptogenic, adrenal support, hormonal support, all these processes. And so I took my approach to this, to the menu plans, with that mindset and key factor supporting the gut microbiome. So really a very low inflammatory. For me, keto green means lots of sprouts and some fermented vegetables, high quality protein, and healthy high quality fats as an incorporation with no snacking and intermittent fasting, so that we manage insulin. We become more insulin sensitive. We manage cortisol, decrease inflammation, less cortisol, less fat, less insulin, less cortisol, fat reduction, and again, I say, waste reduction, because you're eliminating that bloated belly too. And so these things are really key to helping us balance hormones, and key ingredients, in our meals, from taking more of an in-depth into micronutrient components versus macronutrient components, but really looking at a healthy, balanced, I can't emphasize organic as much as possible, free range, wild caught as much as possible type of healthy diet with these concepts of intermittent fasting, so that we become more insulin sensitive, critically important as we age. And then using, for me, supplementation is part of my regimen, because I know that we have minerally depleted soil. And I'm in the longevity space and have been since 1999, and really studying nutrients. You don't want to overdo and you don't want to underdo. There's that Goldilocks formula. And you also want to cycle. There are seasons for a reason. There are certain things you may want to cycle. And I could bring those concepts together to really help our clients with balancing their hormones through food as medicine. And then the adaptogens, I'm big on those, maca, turmeric, quercetin, it's all in my Mighty Maca formula. It has been game changing. And it's one of the reasons that I made it. So.
Well, and you make it so simple because you've already done a lot of the research. That's why I believe your products are so loved by everybody that takes them. It's because you see the results, but you've already done the due diligence, the hard work. And people hopefully understand that food is medicine. And I'm praying and hoping that in the next 10 years, we will see a complete shift from pharmaceuticals to food sources, especially organic food sources. And yes, we have to fix the soil, and that's one of the agenda items. But at the same time, we have to be very selective as to what we put in our mouth, because whatever we put into this body can either feed your menopause to be something very pleasant, or it can actually make it extremely uncomfortable for you. So one of the questions that I had that I have to ask you is about bioidentical hormones. There seems to be questions around that. Are they safe? Are they healthy? What would you say are the biggest myths around it? And is this something that women should consider at this stage of menopause?
I think we have enough research now to say yes. And I say, like, without a doubt, estrogen is not a villain, right? Progesterone is necessary for brain health, bone health, and it declines from age 35 to 65, or 35 to 55 by 65 to 75%. That's before we really start to see declines in declining estrogen. But any anti-estrogen talk is really misogynistic, Fab. I really have found that to be true. And the difference between bioidentical, if we're using hormones, they must be bioidentical. And we must be very conscious when we're using hormones and gentle, not like overdosing, because then you're suppressing your body's own glandular function. I've been in this space now 30 years, and I've seen the pendulum swing in so many ways. So I think this is where hormonal balance really helps. And I am a proponent. And I say that in this environment where we're treating patients and taking care of them, it's often with, perimenopause, menopause, supporting detox, supporting adrenals, supporting hormones, and in that order, literally. But we need to recognize with humility that our blue zone centenarians, those over 100, are not on handfuls of supplements. They are not on handfuls of hormones, right? They aren't. So we, again, comes back to the 99%, that lifestyle, mindset, soul care work that we have to do. Good sleep. We have to move well. Build that muscle. We have to have clean air, clean water, a spiritual practice, good relationships. All of those things come into play to have health. And I want to show you one more slide. Can I show you one more slide?
Yes, and I coined, actually, by what you just said, I'm going to call it the Dr. Anna's trifecta to women's health.
Thank you. Hold on. Let's see here.
I love the way you framed that. Keep it real simple. There's three things in this order.
Yes. Oops, let me go back. Okay, so this, typically we see, and this is one that I formulated to show order of importance. We really think, okay, progesterone and estrogen, they are so important, and then DHEA and testosterone. But when we look in volume in our body based on the same picogram per ml, I printed out this graph. So we can see the progesterone, we have, 1,000 times more progesterone available in our body than estrogen. Estrogen looks like it's at 0, but remember, from 0 to 2,000, we've got this scale here. So you may be at 40 to 60 here at age 50. Your testosterone is still 10 times higher, typically, at least a couple times higher, typically 60 to 100 in menopause. And then, but progesterone, look at this decline of progesterone that we get from age 35 to 55 by 65 to 75%. And progesterone is our mother hormone. Progesterone and pregnenolone are our mother hormones. And those together, I don't have pregnenolone on this graph, but I look at them always together. And then DHEA is this green line. And so we see that gradual decline, but it peaks in our 20s and starts to decline. So I want to share that because, if we look at in age reversal or longevity medicine, we want to support not necessarily to the age of our 20-year-old reproductive. Please don't give me my hormones at that level again. Let me just stay healthy 59-year-old. And, let me just, thrive in this environment with balance between all of these factors. And So I routinely write bioidentical hormone prescriptions, and I don't like to start them too early. And I don't feel like there's an age limit. And in my clients that I'm working with, we're dealing with these lifestyle factors and we want to do things safely. So in those cases, there's no age limit.
Well, another important topic that I think maybe some of the people that may be listening to right now, let's say that you're going through a menopause stage right now and you have a daughter. What are some of the best ways that we can prepare our youth in the early stages of life so that way when they get to that menopause age, they can actually be extremely healthy to manage this natural process much better than any of us have done in the history of humanity?
Well, I have to tell you, I have a lot of experience with this. I have 4 daughters. I have 4 daughters, and they now age 17 to 37 pretty soon. So they age 17 to 37. And I had to become a hormone expert. And I'll tell you this, because of the same things that I am recommending can be used, like the keto green menus, this lifestyle mindset can absolutely be used in our family's menus and plans and nutrients. Mighty Maca, my granddaughter, has been drinking it since she was 2 years old. Healthy adaptogens, part of a lifestyle. And I'll tell you what my daughter told me last year, my youngest. So she was 16 at the time. And she goes, "Mom, I'm the only one of my girlfriends that doesn't have period problems. Like they're all having these symptoms." And I'm like, and I said, "I don't have any." And I'm like, "I know when you're getting a little bit off balance, and I'm making you an extra keto green smoothie, adding a couple extra shots of Mighty Maca in there." But she was just baffled. She's like, "I don't have any problems. Like I bleed, nothing." I was like, yep. I think your older sisters too.
Well, and I love it because we do need to spend time. I mean, as you know, the statistics on our children's health has just gotten so overwhelmingly concerning to many of us that have been in healthcare for a long time, especially in the wellness movement. One last question. I know that during this period of menopause, we also have symptoms like brain fog, memory lapses, and that can be a little scary for people as they get older. We know that the statistics on dementia and Alzheimer's continue to rise extremely high and also getting younger. But from a menopausal perspective, what is it that maybe you suggest or even you do yourself that can help you keep your mind sharp, keep your spirit high, and more importantly, keep that confidence that as you get older, hey, you still got it together?
Yeah. And it really does come into this one of the reasons I created my program is because when I was in my 40s, going through that second perimenopause or menopause journey, I had brain fog, mood swings, irritability. And I mean, I couldn't write an email. And to go from that to writing 3 best-selling books and, online, I love to teach and educate. This makes a huge difference. So following the keto green method, focusing on alkalinity, focusing on intermittent fasting, getting into ketosis, which is like jet fuel compared to glucose, which is like gasoline to the brain, like get into that periodically. You don't have to be there all the time. We want that flexibility. We need those feast days, y'all. I'm a chef and my mom was a baker, so I'm very much biased. But, we need that flexibility. So get into ketosis. It is it is jet fuel for the brain. And this is where hormones, the research looking at women's brains and MRI imaging done by Dr. Lisa Mosconi out in New York, she looked at, using estrogen. They haven't had progesterone as part of these studies. It's funded by, to look at estrogen. And we know that estrogen improves brain function, nitric oxide production. And estrogen, and I believe progesterone, is necessary for gluconeogenesis. So when it declines as we age, our brain is basically suffocating. So by switching from glucose to ketones, game changing. By adding progesterone and pregnenolone and the estrogen, game changing. And that is protective. That is neuroprotective. And, in looking at brain function studies and bioidentical progesterone out of Emory, my alma mater, mean, there was sufficient evidence using bioidentical progesterone to even heal from traumatic brain injury significantly faster.
Well, this has been so amazing. Thank you so much for being always so genuine and candid with your answers and your knowledge. I know that many of you that are listening to me right now, if you go to the chat right now, you will see a link right there where you can access Dr. Anna directly and also even get a special discount that she was gracious enough to send to us, that if you just type the word FAB at checkout, you can actually get a discount. The products are amazing. I can tell you from experience, and I take them myself because when we had you speak at our mentorship, I mean, everybody just fell in love with everything you talked about. And this is one of the things that I can tell you, you will too. These are things that are extremely made with not only a lot of knowledge and science, but a lot of love. And that, I believe, shows, Anna, every time you speak, you always show that you really care. And this is a topic that, as you know, is an important topic. Women's health is such an important topic. Menopause is one that, as I mentioned earlier, doesn't get discussed often enough, especially in conversations, but it needs to. It needs to have its rightful place, and it needs to be something that we don't need to fear, especially today with the new science coming in, all of this functional medicine testing that is available to us right now, and more importantly, using the source of food as our new medicine to be able to diminish or get rid of most of the symptoms that are being associated right now negatively to menopause. So any last minute words you would like to leave us with?
Yeah, menopause is not a time to shut down. It's a time to open up. Like here, I'm more adventurous and more creative. And I want all of you to feel that more at home in your body and in love with yourself in a not conceited way, but a completely compassionate, kind way. I mean, that is our potential, and that is the gift and the magic in menopause. So that's so true. I want to tell your audience too. So it's dranna.com/fab and use the discount code. That should populate your discount code FAB because you're fabulous. Anyway, so FAB. It should add that discount code to anything in our store. But we also gave you guys a second link to our special Summer of Love extended it for your audience. And they get a free, for getting a tuba julva, they get my free All Things V 190 something page ebook on all those important areas that I dive deep into. Because again, vaginal health is essential for life, you guys. And sexual health is not just about sex, right? This is so important for longevity, and we know that. And they'll get if you get the tuba julva, for just buying the tuba julva, you'll also get free my new intimate moisturizer, which is an aloe vera hyaluronan blend. So I'm sending that to you guys free. So at that link. So definitely take advantage of that while it's a limited offer. And I just really do want to encourage everyone. Again, the power is within each of us to take charge of our health and focus on those good relationships. Thank you, Fab, for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Anna. And thank you, everybody, for showing and being part of this. I hope that you got tremendous value. And please share this with as many people as you can, because that way we can all help each other. It's a lot of questions, a lot of misconceptions, a lot of things that people need to understand. So that way they can look at this one thing called menopause and not be intimidated or even afraid of it. In fact, they should embrace it and even look forward to it, because it could be potentially a great experience for everyone that may go through it. So God bless you, and thank you so much. And thanks, Dr. Anna. See you soon.
To learn more about Dr. Fabrizio Mancini's groundbreaking work, visit www.endingchronicdisease.com and join the movement. Together, we can end the silent epidemic of chronic disease and create a healthier, more vibrant world. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, be well and stay inspired.